This is the chapel of the
chapel.
Annunciation. The Annunciation refers to when the Virgin Mary was visited by the angel Gabriel and told that she would be giving birth to the Son of God. Within the Orthodox faith, light blue is Virgin Mary's color. So the walls are painted blue and the altar cloths are also blue to reflect that this chapel is dedicated to her. And of all the icons you see before you, all but two are the original items that were here when Bishop Innocent first consecrated this space in 1843. They were donated by a Russian noblewoman. That was her charity work, was to provide this new bishop with the icons proper to his personal chapel. You can see on each wall there's these red crosses that are painted up near the ceiling. You can't see the fourth as it's back in the altar space. But that is the original crosses painted on by Bishop Innocent when this place was first blessed and sanctified. So traditionally, once those are painted on, they're never painted over. That's just why you see the color difference between the original pigments and what we have recreated here. And this still is an active chapel. It's still a consecrated space. While the Park Service owns the house and is a caretaker of all the items in it, this chapel is still effectively owned by the Orthodox Church. They own all the icons, and it's an agreement between the Park Service and the church that they will allow all these items to still be here in their traditional home and open to the public so we can share with guests, as it is such an important part of our history. And in return, Park Service makes sure everything is best taken care of as possible, and at any time the church does want to have a service in here, they just have to let us know in advance and we'll cancel tours for that time period and they can use this chapel as they normally would. One of them, it's usually only maybe a couple times a year that will happen, the chapel service will be held here. One of the most notable ones was in 2012, the current bishop of Alaska, when he was invested in that station. That ceremony happened here in Sitka. He lives and practices in Anchorage, but as this is the traditional home of the diocese, that investiture service was started here in this chapel and then concluded in St. Michael's Cathedral. So within Orthodoxy, everything about it is very symbolic. Where we're standing now is called the nave, and this is where the normal folk, those baptized within the church, would stand and worship. The iconostasis is the wall that holds all those icons as well as the doors. That is the barrier between here, mortal earth, and then immortal heaven beyond in the altar space. Only ordained priests are allowed back past the iconostasis into the altar. So during services, usually all those doors would be closed for the majority of the service, and the priest or bishop or whoever was leading would be here in the nave, worshiping alongside the congregation, standing for the whole time. And sometimes these services can last 3 to 5 hours, depending on if it was an important holiday or not. So they were standing here, worshiping, and at times the priest or bishop would move up through those deacon doors, the painted doors on either side, symbolically bringing all the prayers of the congregation to the altar in heaven, and then returning with blessings. There were times during the service that the two doors in the middle, the royal doors, were opened to allow the congregation to see a glimpse beyond. Also, icons themselves are not considered artwork. You'll never see a signature of whoever created it. They're just. He's also the first of 3 saints to have lived in this house and worshiped here in this chapel. If you have any other questions about this room or anything else upstairs, I'd be happy to answer them if I can.
Bishop Innocent was elevated after death to a saint, and that's a picture of him in his sainthood. Or actually, that's an icon of him in his sainthood.